No,
TY,
not classic. TY.
again,
There we go.
Yep, he's on that short list of super talents in StarCraft 2. But what really has me interested here, and hopefully we see this, TY is one of the few Terrans that feels very at home and comfortable against late game Zerg, which is apparently where Solar wants to take the game. In his 2 ZVTs, we've seen him play a little bit more passive, obviously a more aggressive style against the Turtle Terran that was Dream.
Yeah.
But if we can get to that late game, it's a finesse game, it's a micro game, and it is only to be played by the gods at this level. And right now, Solar is that god. Is TY another god?
We'll find out. TY is a player who always seems like he's on the verge of absolute greatness. Like, he's got all the potential in the world, and every now and again, he absolutely shows it and just dominates people. And then he just can't quite close it out. I mean, it happened to BlizzCon as well. We're keenly aware of that, and no doubt that still weighs heavily on TY's mind, and I certainly hope that it doesn't affect his performance here. Let's find out, because his opponent is just on one of potentially the biggest streaks we've ever seen. I mean, he has already equaled the second largest streak we've ever seen. He's on 8 wins. He needs 2 more to equal Innovation streak, and then another after that to be the all-time greatest streak player in this event. And he bloody well deserve it, considering who he's had to fight to get there. In the blue trunks playing Zerg to the northeast of Whirlwind, it is Splicer's Solar. Versus his opponent to the southeast position in the red trunks playing Terran, sometimes known as Baby. We know him as TY.
And again, talking about Whirlwind, this is kind of, for us as spectators, it's interesting. For them as pro gamers, it's frustrating, but it's just a very different game depending on the match spawns. And we can see that it's not lower right versus lower left like we saw in the previous time on Whirlwind against Stream. It is instead vertical, which means this gets a little bit more dicey. Again, I would like to think for Solar, you can't take that, we call it 3 o'clock base. You have to kind of take the middle one as your other third base. And that means you can drop the third, pick up, and then go up into the main with a very short distance for the Terran player. And it becomes a big chore for the Zerg player. And if you can pull them away into the third and the main, that exposes the natural for like Hellions and that kind of stuff, or Liberators or more drops. And speaking of Liberators, behind that natural is one of the few bases that can actually have a Liberator do a lot of damage there, because it can just be so far back. So I don't know. Initially, I think of ways for this to be hard for Solar, and then Solar just kind of flexes his muscles and shows us that I'm an idiot.
Let's see what TY can do. He's so good. He's so good, but I believe he was described in the Team Liquid article as always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Like, his number of 3rd place and 4th place finishes, been great for the bank account, but it can't be all that good for the ego. Everybody wants to win a tournament. Everybody wants to win a championship. And being a great performer in Pro League, being a consistent top finisher, that's not enough for some people.
It's not. And I'll tell you what, in particular, StarCraft, it's a very hardcore scene. If you place well and place in top finishings and beat good players, people will be like, that's okay, that's good. But nobody, like, it's not respected at all until you win the big tournaments. And TY has obviously won some big tournaments, so it's not like he's a complete stranger to it. But he just, as we kind of talk about these players, TY is one of those guys that can realistically look at the biggest tournaments and be like, I should have won that, or I need to win more, because he's that good.
His current form is beastly, I'll say that. He is ranked number 2 in South Korea in the world right now. And that's simply because since BlizzCon, he's been going on what I'll call the TY Revenge Tour. And he has been destroying everybody that gets in his way. Qualifiers for IEM, all that kind of thing, online events. He's just been straight up macking fools. And he has only dropped a couple of series. He dropped in November, the end of November, a series to Maru in a TBT. That's nothing to be ashamed of. But he murdered before that about 6 different Zergs back to back.
Yep.
He's really putting on some great displays. And I have to wonder, does a format like this favor him? We've seen him fall at the last hurdle so many times in longer, more traditional tournaments. Maybe this is more his scene.
Yeah, that could definitely be a part of it. Sometimes when a player doesn't have that ultimate success, they go on to talk about it, because finishing out a tournament is where a lot of the nerves coalesce into their final form, and it becomes a really big hurdle for some players. But In this best-of-1 format, he will be facing a Solar who is as red hot as you were talking about. We're seeing Solar go back to that template. We're not going to see defensive Roach Warren out of concern for mech play or anything like that. He is going to go double Evo Chamber off the backs of those Queens and Lings, so it kind of repeat from game number 1 against Keen. And that's exactly the build TY is doing. He's like, patch, what? I'm going to go 16 Marines, 2 Medevacs, and get my damage done there.
Excellent hunt down there by Solar, by the way. Getting that Reaper right across the map, able to nail that. Liberator, very early on the way here. You know, this is something that you had mentioned before, that this map is ideal for this kind of unit. So, looks like TY agrees with you. And I've noticed, you know, especially over TY's career, that he has been the innovator of a number of very progressive strategies. The kind of things that end up getting adopted. Answers to questions seemingly unsolvable before that. And right now, the Zerg seem very, very powerful, especially in the hands of Solar. Does TY have the answer?
And here's that challenge. He goes right up into the main base off the back of the third. But Solar, so calm, cool, and collected, leaves the Queens there, relying on the Lings to do that damage. Now, a lot of times, Terran players, by the way, will bring a Widow Mine with that attack. And if you don't split off, you could lose all the Lings there. But there is no Widow Mine. And even if there was, it's up to Solar to be, you know, in good control there to defend that. And I have trust that he would. But we do see a few creep tumors getting shot down there, which of course can be replaced, but that is a difference between Keen and TY. Like he's delaying that. He's pushing it off.
TY actually, he saw the Spore going down, but he made a mistake in terms of positioning. He thought he was out of range with the Liberator. He wasn't. He takes only a single drone there, gets out, doesn't lose the Liberator. That would have been disastrous, so he can go and repair it, but that harass is now delayed by a good minute and a half, and it didn't get anything done either.
And by going for the Liberator there, by the way, too, that delays the third and fourth medevac. We see only the third there. And that is a big deal, because a big strength to this style is the third and fourth medevac. If you can push back some creep, pick off a queen or two, get a lot of Lings out, and then all of a sudden we're talking about like 30 Marines showing up with 4 medevacs, you no longer can win that fight with Lings alone. It's just like almost not possible. But that does get delayed, and all of a sudden, TotalBiscuit, we have TY slowing down, and that makes me very concerned.
Yep, makes you nervous, doesn't it? Because Solar never slows down, and we've seen a couple of Terran already start off in top gear, just revving up and doing as much as they can early on. And then they realize, oh, actually, I didn't get much done there, did I? Okay, I need to go back to the drawing board. Well, the problem was Solar sort of never skips a beat, and he's just carrying on with his plan. And you're messing around trying to figure out what to do. RSKA gets out, though.
Don't get that final tumor. A little bit of a mistake. The kind of point of contention that I'll be curious about is TY. Let me see. Does he actually know about this? He does not know that the fourth base that was chosen is this 3 o'clock base, which I got done kind of talking about being an impossibility. Because if you look where the third base of TY is, he could basically fart, and if it's a strong enough gust of wind, that base is going to smell it, and that's not good for the Zerg, actually, in so many ways.
Yeah, and the Liberators can easily attack from there. You can get drops in there. Hell, you know, put a tank near the edge of that, you'll probably do a pretty good job with it. TY flies all the way over that fourth base. He now knows it's there, and he decides not to drop it because there's about 5,000 Lings waiting for him. But we do see this interesting creeping advance with the Marines and the Mines. But look down the bottom of the map here. That is one fat Overlord, and it's full of gifts for that mineral line.
It's a way of putting it. They're not the best of gifts if you're the Terran player, I guess. But we do see positioning one a little bit here.
Very aggressive.
There's that signature micro kites back. Gonna lose both the medevacs. Good hold off here from Solar, though. Very good patient play. And now the Bailey's come into that natural.
And TY was far too busy focused on that attack, and immediately that little Baneling drop equalizes the economic damage that was done in that push. There are a couple of Widow Mines still hanging around. The detection is going to grab them before they go off again. Great cleanup operation here. There's still a decent-sized army for TY, and he's starting to deploy his Liberators defensively, but against Ling Bane, Liberators are not that brilliant, especially with a lot of Zerglings. Now the Lings are down, the Banelings will be picked off. Great micro from TY, getting out of the way, managing to hold on here. Just trying to get rid of that drop Overlord, because God knows what's in that. And he's doing okay. He's doing all right.
He's doing okay. Supply is fairly close. Obviously good for the Terran player.
Aggressive attack. Combining a drop with 2 Liberators, immediately eliminating that Spore Crawler. Excellent transfusers, but the Queen goes down, a single Liberator picked off, and out he goes. TY evacuating. I like the fact that TY isn't wasting too many units here. He lost the Liberator there, but when he realized that the chips were down, he evacuated his Marines rather than just letting them die.
And he's being aggressive, TotalBiscuit. That's the important part. If he's back, we've seen Solar, and he's got the Lings there again for this drop. He will harass you, and that'll whittle you down. But if you're being aggressive, you're keeping the creep back, and you're waiting for Solar to make a mistake, because Solar, by the way, is just Ling Queen again. And in one bad fight, it can get really bad for Solar.
Oh, and he actually loses the Drop Overlord with 2 Banelings in it. So that wasn't great at all. Solar not able to evade that. Little bit of a Ling run-by, shut down. I'm noticing TY is on the ball when it comes to dealing with this harass, but here's the problem I've got. Solar is doing what Solar does and is starting to spread out all over the place, get as many bases as possible, but because TY is so active on this map with the Medivacs, he's able to catch these bases before they're established.
And he's going to be able to harass that topside base, gets it canceled, which is really key because Ultras are coming in. And now a Liberator going up to the main where there's not as many Queens. That's also a nice move. And something you talked about, TotalBiscuit, that's really on point here.
Ooh.
Not really losing that many units. So we actually see a supply advantage now in favor of TY. And he has been able to just kind of keep himself in here just kind of through sheer weight of his army.
Yeah, here's another thing about him. He's been on point with his upgrades as well. He's up to 2-2 now in the infantry. He's keeping up. In fact, he's now slightly ahead of the Zerg player, who's clearly going for an Ultralisk transition eventually. We see there the Ultras being built, but TY just drops everywhere and is continuing to hammer the economy. He's getting out so often with these drops as well. They're not sacrificial drops. He is going for not the 1-2 punch, but the 1-2-3-4 combo, and he continues to attack as many areas as possible. Like, we're finally seeing that Solar may have met his match in speed.
For right now, at least, we do see that TY has picked it up, and it's allowed him the space to try and take the space on the southern part. He's doing such a good job harassing. Solar's also going to build some stack defenses, which is in its own right kind of a form of harass. But there's a bit of a final boss here, TotalBiscuit. Ultras are starting to come out, so the ability for TY to harass, really nice. But he's going to have to take a stand-up fight. Look at his army comp. It's all Marines. Marines are amazing, but not very good against Ultralists.
What I do like is the fact that he has 4 Liberators and he's going up to 6. As long as he doesn't lose these Liberators in position here, which he very well might if he sticks around for too long, and he will. He's trying to focus down the Queens, and seeing the Ultras there, I thought, oh, you want to get out with those. You need those Liberators to shoot those Ultras, but he wanted to do more economic damage. And he killed a total of like 27 drones, which is good, but that only sort of equalized the economy, and I'm worried now. If he doesn't have that critical mass of Liberators, he's going to struggle because, as you pointed out, that's a very Marine-heavy army. There are a lot of mines, but there's a lot of luck of the draw involved in how well those really do. If you get a cluster of them all hit a group of Ultras, that's great, but sometimes they just glance off a single Ultralisk and it doesn't do anything.
Well, that being said, you're kind of talking about upgrades. We're going to see 3-3 come out from the Terran player pretty quick here. 3 Carapace being upgraded for Zerg, but otherwise... melee has been abandoned, so just a little bit behind in upgrades. I guess what I would describe this as.
Yeah.
Only just now starting to establish that 5th base, which has been canceled. All the while, Solar is approaching an upgrade, a Carapace upgrade, by the way, on that Spire for perhaps another transition. I actually like that he's doing Carapace, not just going straight to Greater Spire, because he would have no use for that Greater Spire. He has no money to utilize it. That's a good call.
Interesting. There with that Widowmine, TY deliberately stopped it from locking on. He actually could have killed a huge number of Lings with it. I think he was looking for a jackpot on the Baneling, and he ended up only killing a single Baneling cocoon with it because he waited too long. That was a bit unfortunate, but now he evacuates out. Obviously, once the Corruptor count gets pretty high, he's going to be more limited in what he can do with this whole I'm going to put you in a medevac and run away kind of thing. But with this map being so big and so spread out, this harass can continue, but I feel like eventually he's just going to get the Zerg to the point where the Zerg says, screw this, I'm just going to go hit you, especially if half your army is not where it should be. Exactly,
TotalBiscuit, and that's actually something that really concerns me. Like right now, Solar doesn't have bungled growth, he doesn't have speed, air units, like Corruptors are fairly slow, so his ability to chase the kiting Terran is not very great. But here we go. I mean, if TY can dictate the pace of the fight, and choose where we fight.
Ooh, look at the Liberator count.
He's got a puncher's chance.
I love this. The amount of time the TY's managed to waste of Solars, he's managed to create a massive army of Widowmines and Liberators. The kind of things that could very easily crack down these Ultralists. Weirdly enough, there's actually a very small commitment to Ultralists. There's only 3 of them. It almost seems like he's not looking for that. With the Corrupt account, I'm almost thinking he's going to go for Broodlord.
Oh. Now, I like the Carapace upgrade on the Spire. I don't know that I like the +1 attack. I mean, you're onto something, TotalBiscuit. I guess he's just going to say, hey, you're making a lot of Liberators, so I'm going to win the air battle with these Corruptors. And while I don't have a lot of Ultralists, I guess it doesn't take a whole lot to kill a mostly Marine army, but that becomes less relevant over time. We're seeing more Marauders, and as you pointed out, so many Widowmines.
Yeah, it's such a huge number. Of course, there's a risk that TY blows up his own army with that, but with so many Widowmines on the board, Banelings don't get much done.
No. No. And here we go. Now it's Solar trying to buy time, by the way, because TY has done such a great job of securing this 4th base. He's going to take a 5th base behind this. Again, we see the sensor towers at each base, just giving a heads up as to where the aggression's coming. And now, finally, Vipers. We're going to see if they can turn the tide, because right now it's been Solar just trying to survive TY.
It really has been, and that is something we are not used to seeing. Like, for the first time in this tournament, really, Solar is kind of on the back foot. And you say, really? You know, he's on 5-6 bases, he's got tier 3 tech, he's max supply. Yeah, but he's not been winning fights. TY has been running rings around him. We even have the addition of Ghosts now coming into the mix. That's going to be a nice little way of dealing with those Vipers. Lovely micro here on the Widowmine. Doesn't want to waste it on a single Ultralist, so he pulls it out of the ground to make sure that isn't the case. And Solar's like, what do I do now? I can't seem to find an in.
Oh my god, that Widowmine shot. I don't know if you caught that, but
I did, unfortunately not. But I'm sure it was amazing.
Everywhere. They're everywhere, so it's not your fault. But yeah. Now, I do like Solar taking the top of the map. That is the better expansion, so
yeah.
We have seen TY kind of back off on drops, and as I say that, of course, there's a TY drop coming in, so I'll just shut up now. But if Solar can hold on to those bases and get up to 3 or 4 mining bases, he can make that super army, and it becomes then a duel of whether or not the Ghost can get the damage in.
Oh, here we go. There's a big run-by going on, but a massive set of Widowmine detonations and Marauders at the front, and TY is saying, all right, I'm going to go for it. He actually pulled back the rest of his army because he took so much damage at that 5th or 6th base, and there's also a risk that this Ling and Ultralist run-by will do some damage. TY's army is so spread out all over the place, but it's spread out strategically. Most of those are mines and Liberators. They're supposed to be spread out. Great splits for the most part, but he does take some hits. And those are Marines against Ultralists. Finally, the Marauders come in for the cleanup. Some economic damage done. Quite a significant amount, actually.
Yeah.
But here it is. That great Aspire Broodlord transition we were talking about.
I love this from Solar, by the way. He's transitioning to the army comp you just described, which is really, really good for the late game, obviously. But look at the commitment to saying, okay, you want a planetary over there? That's nice, but a planetary by itself will still die to Cracklings and Banelings.
Yeah, totally.
And Solar's going to commit the appropriate number. I mean, this is not a small force.
No.
But if he can keep Terran on 4 bases, in about 5 minutes' time, he'll be mined out. And that's a really dangerous situation for TY.
That it absolutely will be. It's a question of whether or not TY can keep those units alive. You know, he's going for energy units, late game units. He's going for things like Liberators. Oh, big detonation with the Widowmine right there. Another one, an Ultralisk falls. Suddenly, the Ultra count is gone. So's the planetary.
There goes the base. There goes the SCVs. And TY, so here's the stressor that's happening here. Solar is now the rich player. He's got 2 mining bases. Well, actually, never mind. The Liberator shuts down that top one, but actually a pretty good exchange here for Solar, able to trade out some of these Ling Banelings that were otherwise meant to just kill that base and then be done.
That's good.
Very nicely there. But TY,
look at the size TY's
TY can actually get a mega invincible army. His ghost control is unparalleled. There's just nobody else like him. He already has the critical mass of Liberators. So the scary thing is he could be the guy that says the fuck it shove, where he just like goes forward and says, you can't kill my army.
I think it might be the time. I think it has to be the time. He has both a tech and an army supply advantage, and yet he is actually crippled economically. This planetary fortress is going to mine out really soon. He lost his main mining base. He's got to go. If he doesn't, then this is going to be a problem because Solar's going to remax, and he's going to remax on a better army, an army that is more suited to dealing with this. As hard as that seems, you know, with TY using so many different types of units. Yeah, it's tricky, but Solar can do it. Don't give Solar the time to do it.
He's been given a bit of that time, and there's so many Broodlords out there too. Like, Ghost, really good, but I'm looking at the Ghosts, and I'm like, well, actually, all their energy is basically spoken for with those Broodlords if they can get at them.
Yeah.
I really do want to see Infestors, though. I think the only thing Solar is missing here, and he has the supply for it, is the threat of fungal growthing those Ghosts and then landing Ravager shots or something, but we're going to have a move here.
There we are. There's a Harassment Liberator up to the top, which is really smart. And here come those snipes. And Broodlords ripped from the sky. 3 taken out plus an Ultra. And a 4th one there. Lovely move there by TY. And he gets out using the cloak. Of course, he runs back into a minefield. So if the Zerg had pursued, that would have been disastrous. I'm sure TY was hoping for that. But Solar is certainly not that stupid. This is a tense game now between these two. The map is starting to get mined out, but things are looking a little worse for TY. That said, he has taken the base down to the southwest now.
It was looking worse, TotalBiscuit, to be honest. If he can hold on to these bases and just keep Solar occupied. Solar wants to be out there harassing them, but he just has kind of lost sight of it. There's a single Ling chasing off that base, and you can just see that's the level of desperation TY's at, where it's just an orbital bottom left. Any number of Lings there at all shuts it down.
Yeah.
Solar just hasn't done it because he's fighting for his life against these Ghosts.
Yeah. That TY, again, refusing to commit his whole army to anything. Doesn't want to because I think he's just afraid of getting it caught out. I mean, maybe he doesn't know that his opponent hasn't even thought about Infestors yet. You know, maybe he thinks there's borrowed Infestors lying around, and suddenly your whole army gets fungled and destroyed, and then you lose.
They can burrow from below ground now, or excuse me, cast from below ground as well.
Huge threat. Which is why it is kind of surprising that, as you said, that Solar hasn't actually gone for it. Maybe he's just not practiced with that technique as of yet. It's very powerful.
Yeah. I think he's just tunnel visioned on this army comp, and he hasn't really adjusted to it. The Liberators here at bottom left are going to make sure that if you do try to go in there, your time is going to be limited, but these Lings are gone.
You ain't getting out either. Oh, man. Yeah, those are going to do the job. Oh, here we go. What do we got? Ghosts coming in. The scan goes down. Ghosts don't get anything done as of yet. Their energy's a little bit low. Need to watch out for that, especially when using Cloak. Oh, look at this. Big drop coming up to the northwest. That's actually very much undefended. TY hasn't been dropping for the last few minutes. Maybe that's made Solar get a little bit complacent.
Could be. He's going to push forward these Broodlords, though. He's saying, okay, if Ghosts are really your only answer for this, then if I push forward, I just basically have to make sure that your Ghosts either exhaust their energy or die to Banelings. He's got to be careful this Solar, too, because, again, without the fungal growth, and he doesn't have, I mean, he's sharking back and forth. You can kind of see it with that Overseer, but it's just the one Overseer that's with the Corruptors.
Yeah. TY's being really careful with those Ghosts as well. He's letting the mines take the hit. There is a lovely little pull. That takes 2 of the Liberators out. The anti-air, though, now consists of the Ghosts. You think he may... I mean, is that the way to go? We see yet more damage done with this drop. TY has done incredible economic damage. Does take a Baneling hit.
That would be the time to get
big snipes!
To go off.
Not quite enough.
Not enough. And as you said, the energy's so low. Every time he cloaks like that, that's potential snipes that he won't have access to.
Yep.
The supporting unit's not as much, but he is pushing back here.
Yep.
The few more Queens are back there.
I mean, hell, even if the Ghosts are just shooting, +3 Ghosts do a lot, a hell of a lot of damage. They're brilliant at taking out Banelings. You know, they 2-shot them very easily. So TY still has a very powerful army. Solar's taken a lot of economic damage. This is a very interesting game indeed between these two.
It really is. And just the slow-moving air army of Solar is having a tough time. He's committed out here. He's got all the Queens. He's like, well, hang on. All of a sudden, not making that much money behind this. He's mining okay, but a couple of those bases are getting low. Liberator is now going to shut down that base if there's no Queens.
And in the meantime, are we going to see the death push here from Solar? Is he going to go for it? He needs to do something about the Ghost Pack, but the Ghost Pack is always slightly out of reach.
It is. Now, these Medivacs kind of sloppily are going to get shot back. TY does pull back here. But as you said, they're out of reach. But what's their escape route here? There's no Medivacs. They need to get over here. They're trapped. If he loses all the Ghosts, this just could be it. That's really the strength of his army right there.
The Medivacs arrive in the nick of time. They save Private Ryan. They get him out of there. All the Marines died, so sucks to be you, I guess. But the Ghosts are out. The problem is now we're seeing buildings go down. We're seeing supply depots killed. We're seeing Lings running into bases. We're seeing Solar starting to take control of that side of the map. But while all that was going on, and this is continuing to happen, that Liberator does go down, but it does yet more damage to the economy of the Zerg. Oh, big snipes. The Corruptor count just fell hard. That's a big deal because TY's got Vikings. TY's got Vikings.
It's the final stage. Just at the top of that ramp. A real big miscue here from Solar. He still has so many Broodlords, but he just lost every one of his Zerglings, and they are not replaceable at this point in time. If you look at the production tab, he's making some, but just some TotalBiscuit. He doesn't have a lot of money behind this. And as you said, the left side of the map still mining super healthy. It's just all about holding on to these production buildings. Also, TY cannot replace this.
No, he absolutely can't. He doesn't have the money for it. He's got a ton of gas, but not much of anything else. And you need units. You know, he's lost the starport there. That's not good. That's a really hard place to engage. If he can somehow get those Corruptors down, but so many tries to use the Corruptors are down though. The Viking count is now in a state where it can actually get to those Broodlords, and for the most part, the Ghosts have survived.
They've stayed together. They're alive. The Queens can zone away the Vikings, but all of a sudden, the ability for these Broodlords to just push in there becomes greatly diminished with those Vikings. So he's going to back off to greener pastures. He's going to go after the space, which ultimately is not the biggest of deals because it's mostly mined out. And again, it's just a time game. Right now, with TY being the one that's mining, if he can hold on, he will produce the units.
TY with great positioning, but the thing is that unless you can fire a volley that will one-shot a Broodlord, transfuse is going to be
big drop.
The thing that keeps them alive. That's going to be a big problem. There is that big drop. That mining base will most likely go down, although we are seeing a swap. It's honestly a kind of slightly better trade here for TY because he's killing a slightly more viable base, and he's also killing a ton of workers in the process. It's this really slow ball of doom from the Zerg. Like, TY needs an answer to it. He's got to be able to kill the thing outright. Oh, big Widowmine hit. That's going to help.
Top left-hand side now under attack as well. Good positioning on that bio drop, but maybe just too many Zerglings. EMP on the Queens. He comes in from behind. Can he kill them off? Not quite. Needs to get out of there. It was a good move, but not quite good enough. Nope, not quite good enough. Banelings are going to sloppily kind of die there. Down to one Overseer with this army, by the way, and he smartly transfuses it.
Oh, yeah, if he can get rid of that, that would be absolutely huge. Cloak would kick into play. How many Ghosts are left? There's only 4. A lot of them were picked off by the Broodlings, killed by the Lings here. There's only a few Vikings left. That's dead. What is the mining situation for Solar? Basically, nothing. He's done for the mining. Admittedly, TY still has a functional base, but his army's starting to take a lot of damage. Can he keep it alive?
This game is so back and forth. TY has pushed this to this point. He's still mining fairly healthy on the left side. He's still producing back at home. And I think he's just weathering the storm. Like, Solar had to chase that army back because every time he doesn't chase, by the way, the Ghosts with their tremendous range, the Vikings, they make it hurt.
TY is going for the throat right now, which is an interesting choice because he's leaving his 2 mining bases open to attack. There is a Liberator there, but Solar has no money, whereas TY has 2 mining bases that are giving them the advantage right now. If he loses both of them, I don't know, maybe Solar's taking too much damage. It's a trap. TY comes in for a surround on the slow Queens right at the back. He says, come and get me. Wow. The king is dead. TY is the man to finally fell the beast.
And what a hell of a game, TotalBiscuit. Like, I love when a beautiful plan comes together. Before this match, we were like, all right, listen, TY, amazing player. But he is one of the only guys out there that will go toe-to-toe with your Darks, your Solars, your Rogues. He'll go late game TVZ and finds himself at home there. And it was looking about as dicey as it could possibly get. Solar was the guy with the 3 mining bases, and it was only because of that small hiccup in harass, but also the Liberators defending the lower left-hand side for TY that allowed TY to even get back into this game. I would say it's that and his Ghost control, but my God, what a game.
That was one hell of a game. That is some of the best Terran. I mean, it is the best Terran I've seen post-patch, there's no doubt. Terran have been getting wiped out for the most part, but that was something else entirely. Incredible play there by TY. Solar, you've got to give credit to him for God's sake. 8-map streak. That's ludicrous. That's the second longest streak we've ever had. It puts Solar, I think, right in the top 3 in terms of overall wins. But TY is the man to finally fell the beast. God, it looked like that Zerg army would never die. It was big, tough units with a ton of transfuses.
And that's the cool thing about this, too. Like, a lot of times in StarCraft, you can have one big climactic fight. The game gets decided there. That's fun for some people, but not great for every game. But what happened in this game was TY began engaging that army at his base on the right side of the map maybe 10 minutes ago and concluded the fight on the left side of the map, defending his final mining bases 10 minutes later. Like, that's... I mean, like, the idea that he was microing and controlling and avoiding that entire time. And again, it's not like Solar at any point was just like, derp to derp, 7 Widow Mines blow up my whole army. Nothing like that.
No. And that's considering how many Widow Mines were on the field, I wouldn't have even blamed him if that had happened.
No. Just an amazing game. We're lucky. I mean, to be honest, like, again, if you're just now joining us, we had a ZVZ about that good. I do think this game is better, but only because this is like one of the best games I've ever seen. It was just amazing. And part of it's because of the difficulties of Whirlwind, by the way, which is, again, kind of funny for us, not cool for the pro gamers. It's like, this map presents challenges. Good luck.
Just a few. Yeah, that was a hell of a macro game. That was absolutely awesome. I guess maybe there is some benefit to the old tried and true maps. They can produce stuff like that, then I, for one, welcome our Whirlwind-shaped overlords. That works. Well, we have a new king, finally. The tyrant has been deposed, and now we have a baby-faced young king who will now face the horrors of leadership. His first opponent, a very experienced player indeed, one of those guys that just never stops playing. Online tournaments, every invitational he can get his hands on, a ton of experience. He is a mechanical god, he's a champion. He can take on pretty much anyone on a good day. His name is True. Very, very interesting. So, at first glance, you'd look at this and you'd say, TBZ, well, LOL, nerd, TY is going to raffle stomp this guy. But True is not your Solar. He's a very, very aggressive Zerg. So it's a bigger question of, like, can you hold on? Because if we do get to late game, I very heavily favor TY, but it's a huge if because True's basic strategy is to end it well before that. And I think that a few Terran have started to get a little bit savvy to that. His latest form against Terran is a little shaky. I mean, he went out 2-0 against Beyond at the end of November. Hey, okay, it was Beyond, sure. But he also lost to Ryung, and he lost to Forte as well, 2-0. And some people might be saying, well, who the hell is Forte? Yeah, exactly. So that could be a bit of a problem here in this matchup. I mean, we saw TY put on an incredible performance, but if it's not the kind of match that TY is comfortable with, if it is a far more aggressive style rather than the more macro-orientated style of Solar, yeah, he could have a pretty rough time. And True is just that experience when it comes to playing a variety of opponents and styles. So let's see what he can do. To the northwest position, in the red trunks playing Zerg, for Team Psystorm, it is True. Versus his opponent in the brand new King of the Hill, to the southeast position in the blue trunks playing Terran, TY.
And we return to a little bit more of a normal up and down match. It's a 1v1 map. So the kind of interesting dynamics is that the third is fairly defensible. There are 2 ramps leading up into it, but they're both pretty decent choke points. This is one of those maps where I think of Liberators almost right off the bat. We did see a lot of that from TY. Not necessarily independent Liberators. I mean, certainly that did happen. But I liked him playing with Liberators aiding drops. We saw that a couple of times. So, I mean, if this game does go the distance, if it does go a little bit further, True's going to have some pretty sick defense because TY took Solar, who had looked invincible, and made him look rather mortal, I would say.
That is a great way to describe it. He absolutely did. Yeah, seeing Solar on the back foot was weird, to say the least. Here's something else a little bit weird. 3 racks right off the bat. We were talking about True being the aggressive one, but it seems like TY may have heard of that. He may be familiar with that. I know for a fact that True has been really high on the Korean ladder lately. Like, super high on the Korean ladder. And people have figured out who he is. And that probably means that people like TY have run into him on many occasions over the last couple of weeks, have got a bit of a feel for him, and have started to create some anti-True strategies. And in this case, it looks like we're getting 3-Rex Reaper.
Yeah, and this is, again, an older map, so it's kind of nice seeing 3-Rex Reaper is a very current build, but being played here where you can fully wall off that natural means the transition's really nice, because one of the ways you punish 3-Rex Reaper is you sneak some speedlings out behind it and do a little bit of a counterattack, but when there's a 3 barracks wall in, you're not doing anything. There's no counterattack ability. You just have to hold on.
That you do. Reapers proved to be a big problem for Dark in the WCS BlizzCon finals, of course, as we're well aware, in the hands of someone like Beyond. But TY is, if there's anybody who is as good when it comes to Reaper control, probably TY.
Yeah. I mean, just control in general. I don't know what he doesn't control very well.
No.
1 Reaper. Never mind, it escapes annoyingly. True is holding on, though, and behind this, he's making a lot of lings. He knows he's facing 3-Rex Reaper, so that the lot of lings is what is called for here. Yeah. But there is an expansion from TY. And it's not necessarily a transition. He's going to continue to make Reapers, and the Reapers remain lethal, by the way, for quite a while. That grenade is just it's become an art form for Terran players. They're really good with it.
Yeah, and players like TY, the guys with the speed, the guys with the APM, those are the fellows that can take real advantage of those grenades. So not every player can, you know? So the Reaper is a very different unit in the hands of a very different player. And TY is one of those that can absolutely take advantage. Quite a lot of lings there, but a hell of a lot of Reapers. So True might want to be a little bit careful with that engagement. And grab himself a nice free SCV. So, and True wisely backing away here.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I guess the speedling timing here scared TY into kind of going back home. I know he wanted to add some add-ons there, so I guess he's just playing it super safe. Probably, again, being just very confident that if he can get this game to the 10-minute mark and beyond, it's going to heavily favor him. But it's Reapers, yes, they get ran down by speedlings, but with that grenade, they are the predator. They're not worried about being surrounded as long as they have good control.
Yeah, you know, you need a lot of lings, and usually to go in a couple of groups, because if it's a big spam of grenades and you send in all your lings, they all just explode. Well, that's not going to get you very far, is it? And we even see so many Reapers that you can actually legitimately threaten a hatchery. That's how ridiculous that is. You might be thinking, oh, do they have those det packs that they had in Wings of Liberty? No, they're still shooting with those terrible little pistols, but with enough pistols, you can take that down, and as you can see, the lings will run away from that many Reapers.
Yeah, they're waiting for their friends to maybe circle around. If they can get a full surround and you can trim down the number of Reapers, you can kind of whittle it down. You're not going to win the fight outright, but TY is just buying time. Behind this, you can see a sizable Marine force coming out here in a 3rd CC, as well as double eBay, by the way. It's worth noting, not a single factory, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to take a fast 3rd. He's going to chunk out a lot of units, and he's not going to have access to medevacs, which means he can't fight back creep except for with the Reapers.
That's an interesting idea, isn't it? And he's doing just that right now. He's going to take out 4 tumors for the price of 1. Single scan. And now he's going to jump up and he's going to find and cancel a Baneling nest, possibly, but he's more interested in bombing the living hell out of that mineral line. Now he evacuates. Wow. Oh, nice surround here. The grenades having been used mean that those Marines will die. And the Reapers take punishment as well. That was an excellent defense by True. Maybe a miscalculation by TY?
An interesting idea. Like the Marines on the low ground, I'm not quite sure what that was supposed to accomplish. I guess with the Reapers on the high ground, they can aid each other back and forth that way. But to your point, True just did such an awesome job of engaging exactly correctly. Lings on the high ground, but just making sure he got the Marines while the Reapers were inside that mineral line, and pulling back the drones, so really not suffering too much of a loss. Coupling that with the fact that TY delayed his own factory and is only just now starting a starport, means that moving out with Marines is really scary. Like, yes, you can stim and kite back, but without the ability to heal after that, you could just be kiting back to your own death. So he's just not going to take the 3rd. He's been delayed.
I mean, he's going up against Burrow and centrifugal hooks, the upgraded centrifugal hooks as well. So yeah, he has to sit back, and you know what True's going to do with that. He's going to do what any Zerg does in that situation. It's like, oh, you're sitting in your base? Okay. I've got plans. I'm going to go everywhere. And look at how much delay has been caused to this third thanks to that Overlord.
He's going to move out.
It baits them out. It's a trap. It's a magnet for those that would be foolish. And in come the Banelings!
Oh my god. The first streak of Banelings actually were even another trap. TotalBiscuit, they were like, you think that's all the Banelings they made?
Somewhere.
Oh, and he gets stim! Oh my god.
Oh, that's so close on the repair there. TY with the clutch repair, but there's somewhere there is a man with a half beard who used to sell carpet cleaning supplies, grinning to himself. That was nasty. That was an incredible move. TY falling for a classic trick. And unfortunately, he's now trapped in his base. And True thinks he can make it happen. And I believe him. He has a massive army. Thankfully, the medevacs have just come out. But, oh god, oh god, oh god, say those workers as they try to desperately escape. But there is no escape from those Zerglings. And rolling Banelings coming in with the upgrades. A tank gets out just in the nick of time. Can he target fire? Oh. He does. TY holds the best he can, but he has taken disastrous damage. GG. Whoever said, oh, defending True is a Zerg. Pfft, no, he isn't. He's not just a Zerg. He's not just a Zerg. And unfortunately, you could make the argument that a lot of that was a little bit of a throw by TY. A bit of a bridesmaid moment yet again.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely... I mean, again, it's best of one, so you have an idea, you put it out there, and then if the other guy responds really well, it can end up looking really bad, and that's what happened. I mean, the Reapers at first were doing pretty okay, but the decision to come back home and be as defensive he was about getting the add-ons on, a little bit weird there, because you can also do that if you're being aggressive. The Zerg can't counterattack in that small window of time. But again, I just feel like TY was almost overconfident, and then committing to a weird fight where he pushes out with the Marines, but no medevacs, no way to get them out of there. It was always going to be a trade. And then just losing everything. It all spiraled out of control after that.
You've got to give credit to True for a phenomenal engagement there. That's a difficult army to fight against, and he was able to take full advantage of the positioning. He waited for the grenades to be used, and then he went for it. If those grenades were available when those Lings charged in, those Lings would not have survived, most likely.
Exactly.
Lovely.
And going on the high ground and low ground, by the way, an important point as well. If you choose either one of those sides, well, you're just not going to get those Reapers. They're going to hop off to the other side and leave the grenades behind. But also a good move there, too, as you called out, with the Baneling split. If all the Banelings come from one side, and TY was focusing them down, by the way, he was able to focus down the left side, but with the right side coming in, he's fast, but very few people are fast enough to do it in that situation. And he's not one of them, apparently. Not at that moment.
I did say True has been grinding that ladder hard lately, and I think that shows. He is, of course, you know, this guy is a champion, but I think people tend to underestimate those that have perhaps won a foreign event, which he did. You know, he won WCS Circuit, the Summer Circuit Championship against Polt, and he did so in pretty commanding fashion, 4-1. One of the few Korean players that did get the athlete visa to come and compete in America with Psystorm Gaming. But before that, he had a serious bridesmaids complex as well. 2 years of it, in fact. He got, I think, 5 third places, if I recall correctly, something along those lines. 5 third or fourth places. DreamHack Open Valencia came in second, lost to Curious. DreamHack Open Tours, lost to Gomiho. DreamHack Open Moscow, lost to Jakchi. DreamHack not really the place for him to win by the looks of it. But online, he's a beast. You know, he just recently won the Kung Fu Cup Season 2 final. Big payoff for that, $8,000, crushing Tudming 4-0. Like, don't underestimate people like True. That's the biggest mistake you could make.
Yeah. He just has that puncher's chance. Like, and if he starts playing, I mean, last I saw him, he wasn't playing at the most mega high level, but right here, these are great decisions, good micro, no mistakes. Yes, it was aggressive, but that's fine. It was like responsive aggression anyways. It was TY that initiated the whole damn thing, and it was his own demise. So True has just always got a puncher's chance. You got to respect it.
His next opponent, however, is a legend. He's a beast. He is one of the most deadly Protoss in the world. making his debut right here on ShoutCraft Kings. One of the most desirable, in many ways, Protoss on the planet, and an opponent for, frankly, anybody who is to be feared. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Zest.
It takes a Korean of especially strong talent to take a word like zest and make it sound cool, make it sound sexy, maybe. Certainly scary, like you talked about as an opponent. But yeah, just zest. What more can you say? This guy has had his hot and cool streaks, but certainly lately has felt much more of the hot variety. He came into BlizzCon with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, talking about how he wanted to beat some of these guys because they, didn't respect his legacy, basically, just the legend that he is.
Yeah, and he is an absolute legend. Good God. I mean, the results of Zest, the scourge of Pro League, he is a monster. A complete monster. He has beaten everyone there is to beat.
Yeah. Zest, we talked a lot about this at BlizzCon, but he's one of the players that, when he hits his stride and is playing at his top level, has that beyond effect where it's like, okay, you're the best on the planet. It's a surprise when they lose, a surprise when they make a mistake, and they just hit this. They're able to make really good players look bad. So Zest, that was the beginning of 2016. He's been good since then, but he has not been the God mode unbeatable style since then. That's okay. He's facing True. On paper, you'd have to favor Zest, but after what True just did to TY, I don't know, throw that out the window, I guess. Anything's possible now.
In this tournament, anything is possible, and it doesn't matter if you've won enough gold to build the Armada, you can still lose in a matter of seconds. This man is a champion's champion. This man is a royal roader. This man has won pretty much every tournament there is to win. Unfortunately, he finds himself in a tournament that is impossible to win because it never ends. To the northeast position. In the blue trunks, playing Protoss, the one and only Zest. Versus his opponent to the southwest position. A bit of a surprise for his doubters in an absolutely crushing victory against TY. The newly crowned king in the red trunks for Psystorm Gaming, it's True.
And we get a little bit weird, TotalBiscuit.
Oh my God.
One of the strategies that you would do on this map is you would take that gold base, knock down the rocks, walk a bunch of queens and spine crawlers over there, and blow the house down of the Protoss player. Now, the probe saw the drone, but this is where if we had a webcam, I'd look at you and be like, but did it see the drone?
Did it see the drone?
So far, no reaction. The probe's out there looking to see if it's a close hatch. He sees that it's not. Zest is that player where he can just infer things. He's like, okay, if you're not here, then that means I know where you are and I know what you're doing.
But
never mind.
This is thoroughly weird, though. This is... I mean, I've seen a lot of games on Overgrowth.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw this specifically.
Yeah, I mean, this is when your librarian ends up being the, 50 Shades of Grey girl or whatever. It's like, yep, let's do it. Let's get really weird. Really, really weird. And take it to another level. Again. Both gold bases. It's not, we've seen it before. I'm not trying to pretend this is the first time we've ever seen this. It just puts a lot of pressure on the Protoss. If they take one gold base, you can be like, okay, well, that doesn't really change my game plan. It's going to mine out faster. I need to hold on. You might go a bunch of roaches. But when they take both gold bases, there's no holding on. If they saturate those, the amount of they'll double and triple you in income, and you're playing at a deficit that's impossible.
So in that situation, what do you do as a Protoss? Is it just a case of you've got to figure it out quick and then kill at least one of those bases before things get out of control?
That's exactly it. We're going to have the probe show up to this gold base, and he's going to find it. But what's really important is this adept is going to find the other one, so he's going to be able to adjust. So there's a couple of responses. Obviously, Dark Shrine's one of the most immediate ones. I'd kind of like Stargate play as well as a possible option here. And when I say Stargate, I mean Void Rays. Mm-hmm. I don't mean Phoenixes. When a player takes both bases like this, they probably are not going to have speed overlords. They're not going to be able to really be on top of what you're doing because they know you're put on the clock. So there's a couple of different reactions. Do they go hyper aggressive to try and kill you off of this, or do they go hyper defensive? True, probably going to go aggressive.
I imagine so. And True historically has been known for Zerg versus Protoss, but this is a new patch, and his recent form in this patch, it's not been brilliant. 50-50. You know, he's won 8 out of 16. Not bad, not great. Certainly not what I would call his current strongest matchup. That's actually versus other Zerg right now. Zest is good against everything that has ever been constructed and ever will be constructed by man or beast.
Yeah.
The Dark Shrine comes down, and we need to see those gold bases die. We already saw a little bit of harassment, but nowhere near enough. A single adept, certainly not enough to shut down this behemoth of an economy.
And this is good. Really clever building placement by Zest. He's been hiding this so far. But True's got a sense of it. I mean, he sees the Dark Shrine. He can probably, again, assume there's a Robo. But he needs to see... Well, again, he'll know the gateways. Because this is actually that mega standard opening from Protoss, where they go Archon Harass.
Yeah.
It's just different gateway placement, which is really cool. This is like a double wall in, so... I mean, the disadvantage here is that's all your production, so if you lose this spot, you're dead.
Yeah, that Robo's pretty damn exposed as well.
Spore Crawler's already going up, so Dark Templar... I mean, unless he has the 4 Dark Templar snipe. There is no lair, by the way. Oh, wow.
And our 4DT's going down. He's going to go for it. Yeah.
Ling's just now popping out. He needs to circle it right now.
Yeah, and he's not. It looks like we're going for some regicide here. Zest looking to take the queens out, as opposed to going straight for that Spore Crawler. He's relying instead on his ability to evacuate with the Warp Prism. He takes 2 queens, and he saves all 4 DTs.
Doesn't lose the base for True, but to your point, I mean, ooh, if he could have found those Archons. Ooh, you gotta love Zest's control there. Gets both the queens, as you said.
Oh, Ling's coming in. Archons are up, though. That's not going to be good. The nice thing about taking the queens is that, yeah, okay, you're mining a ton of gold, but you don't have the lava to spend it. So that does slow him down quite a bit. Looking for a surround right here, and a quick evacuation, however, prevents that from happening. The Archons in decent but not brilliant positions. The Zealots get surrounded and killed. The Archons still fighting.
Yeah, they're going to pull up in here. Obviously, they have to avoid the Banelings, trying to focus them down and get some gas damage in on True. But this is going to be a timing attack behind this. I mean, like I said, Zest just has to know. I can't expand. So he's going up to 8 gateways and Immortals. And just at Hatch Tech is True. And he's even building Spine Crawlers because he's really concerned with his Harass. I mean, some good force fields, and you're just not touching this army. He doesn't have drop overlords. He doesn't have roaches.
This is a bloody nightmare. You know, if you could move that spore just a little bit, that would probably be quite helpful. But fully exploiting, abusing the warp in range to the point where True's just said, I'm sick of this. I'm not going to stand around and just lose all my lings. I'm going to go do something with them. And his answer is, oh, there's nothing there for me to do anything to. You're only on 2 bases, and you have the Great Wall of Zest up here that I can't get through in a million years. What the hell do I do now?
Well, that is the question. He's got a range attack upgrade coming in, which is a really interesting choice since he literally does not have a Roach Warren. The Queen's benefit, I guess.
It's for Queens, I guess. Yeah, that's the only they can be. He's building 3 Queens at a time. I guess not only to kill the Warp Prism, but also as a decent counter to the Archon-ish?
I mean, it's just what he has available to him.
Yeah.
Oh, the Warp Prism going to pull back here just in time. It is a 3rd base from Zest, by the way. Give the production tab, he's not actually building any more probes at all. And if this was a true 3rd, I feel like we definitely would see that. He can use the motion core to defend it, so it's not like he's going to cancel it, I don't think. But he's not building any probes at all, and we can see that. So it's also not a super real 3rd.
Yeah. Man, this creep is getting dangerously close to joining here. And Zest would love to prevent that, because if we're seeing a Queen-heavy force, which we certainly are, plus Banelings, having that joined creep would be good. And here we go! True tries to break through, and he realizes, God, that's a big wall. I needed more Banelings and a bigger boat.
Yeah. You're not going to Baneling bust that wall, and not right now. Huge counterattack coming around to the 3rd, but this will be pushed back by the Archons as well. Any kind of funneling there is going to be... What? God, he's just going for it.
He thinks he's got enough to make that work, and he...
It's the Archons
and
the Immortals.
I mean, to kill those Archons anyway, but...
Oh my god.
Man, that was a big investment.
Wait a second. Wait. Okay, come on, inside the main.
Uh-oh.
It's really bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute, where's the rest of Zest's army? Oh, it's killing the main. Right. I didn't even realize it was the main because there's still a hatchery. But yeah, it's a main. And those... Position.
Spawning pool's going to die, and good luck getting behind that mineral line.
Yeah, Lings come in, but double Archons. Resonating Glaive Adept, can he save it? Looks like he's gonna try. You gotta give him props for doing that. He's got enough links, I think, to actually stop those Archons now. However, there is another little force of Archons and an Immortal marching towards that base, being driven off quite quickly.
This is torture.
This is...
I mean, every time he engages, because he has no anti-air, because he just doesn't have any tech at all,
yeah,
it just picks up and it loses position.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have thought a lot of spores right now might have been a good idea. But look, there's another army for Zest now, and it's a big, high-tech, scary bang-bang army. That's the worst kind. And that gold base is going to die.
Those are slow zealots, and I'm trying to think the last time I saw slow zealots. I believe it was Zest at BlizzCon.
Yeah, I think
maybe
you're probably right.
Cup, but
this Ling run by gets nothing done. Defensive warp in. The gold base finally falls, and True's strategy seems to be falling to pieces. He does have a large queen force, but man, tech-wise, the Protoss has everything he could need to make this an absolute nightmare. This is going to be a decapitation, a very short reign by the looks of it here for True.
Yeah, we're going to have a Protoss player win. That's kind of nice. He did actually win, ironically, the Blizzard put on early patch tournament when everyone thought Protoss couldn't win. So here he is again, doing it here.
Yep. Zest has set the trend for years and years and years. Zest is drowning in gold right now, and he puts one on the board. He's looking for some real money, and he might find it if he keeps playing like that.
That was cool to see. I mean, it came down to execution. Like, I love that basically he's like, I'm facing something super weird. Well, I'm going to continue to do the extremely standard Warp Prism Archon strategy. I'm just going to execute it at a very, very high level. Shapes up to do a 2-base timing attack, but ends up taking a third behind it. And just through his harass and ability to control the battle, he did such a good job of making it look easy. Like it. After all that, we look at that and we're like, oh, True, what were you thinking? But honestly, guys, a lot of Protoss would have crumpled in that situation.
Exceptional. What can I say? Exceptional play there from Zest. True with a sneaky strategy. There's no real doubt about that. Wasn't enough. I think you made a mistake. And his mistake was trying to outgold the most gilded man in StarCraft 2 history.
He's not alone. Many have tried. Many have failed.
Indeed. Now the question is, who will be able to dethrone our new king? Perhaps the wealthiest king that we've ever seen. He's going to take some more of our money by the looks of it. I'm okay with that. We've got some nice opposition for him. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more action from ShoutCraft Kings December. It's already been a phenomenal event, and we've got way, way more to come. So many great players still to play in this event. And of course, the StarCraft 2 scene, particularly with its online events, is stacked with great tournaments at the moment. I'm going to let the organizers of the Gauntlet tell you about theirs. I'm going to go to a brief break after that, little bit of music. And then, Zest attempts to continue his rampage in ShoutCraft Kings December. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings December. Our current king, debuting, it's Zest. So happy to have him here. He's of course been an amazing performer in every tournament he's been in, including a couple of our own. He participated in the SanDisk ShoutCraft Invitational at one point and put on some of the absolute best PvP I've ever seen in my life. Like, incredible series, I believe, against CJ Hero at the time. Went to all 7 games. It was just phenomenal. Orgasmic, one might say. That's coming from a Terran player, so imagine what it did to Jeff.
Just imagine it, though, because that's save that for the Triple X content we'll be doing later.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say? StarCraft 2, a little bit stagnant right now. We need a little bit of premium content. Keep the scene going. Nothing wrong with that, right?
Shake it up, they said. What they didn't expect was us to shake our asses.
They did not. And really, around us, you should always expect that. So that was a lapse in judgment from you, I feel. You shouldn't be playing pro StarCraft if you can't foresee something so obvious.
I agree.
Here's something not so obvious. I was thinking, right, well, who have I got that would put on a great fight against Zest? Who have I got that may very well have never ever faced him before. What kind of really awesome top foreigner versus top Korean matchup can I come up with now to provide some real excitement? Well, I have an answer right here. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes. This guy right here shocked the world during BlizzCon. The highest placing BlizzCon foreign player of all time. A rapid rise to supremacy. The Polish Zerg, Eleza.
What a doozy. He's the real deal, too. I really, when he was first kind of rising to prominence in the European scene, I was a little bit like, all right, he's good for him. Young guy, but no chance against the Koreans. Well, he's become a great chance against the Koreans. His ZVP in particular, and ZVC.
Strongest matchup.
Oh, my God. When he's hitting his stride, it looks amazing. It looks really, really good. He's going to need it. Zest also looked really good, but he has that ability.
Yeah, it's a really cool choice on that basis because ZVP is both historically and his current form his strongest matchup. 67% win ratio, 33 out of 49 games. So we're talking about against top players from all over the world. Not messing around by any stretch of the imagination. This guy, he's gonna... If he's not already in your minds as a star, he should be. Poland has produced some of the best StarCraft players in the world, and that is continuing to happen. In a scene where seeing up-and-coming stars is a rare thing, that we don't have a lot of new blood, somebody like this to come along and do as well as he did at BlizzCon is nothing short of phenomenal. But he has to face off against one of the best Protoss of all time. So the northeast position, in the light baby blue trunks, playing Protoss on Daybreak LE, the current king of the hill, it's Zest. Versus his opponent to the southwest position in the yellow trunks, playing Zerg. The finest, perhaps, that Poland has to offer, although I imagine Nurture would have something to say about that. The one and only Eleza.
Yeah, I was just excited. We've had some amazing matches. Again,
What a tournament so far.
Yes, it's been so good. Just as a reminder to you guys, keep your eye on that TotalBiscuit YouTube channel. There will be a lot of these VODs, and two of these games have just been... they've all been pretty good for different reasons, but two of them are just objectively, some of the best StarCraft you can watch. And if you're really enjoying... if you're here watching this, there's a good chance you enjoy watching StarCraft, so do yourself the favor. Check it out.
Now, here's an interesting thing. I did say that, maybe they haven't met before, but I had a bit of a brain fart there. I completely forgot. They actually had a complete slugfest at Home Story Cup, didn't they?
I don't remember it, to be honest, so you're not alone.
It was probably so good that your brain just refused to accept it. It was a 3-2 in favor of Zest.
Okay.
That's the only time they've ever met, and it was actually quite recent.
Oh! No, I do remember it now that you say that, yeah.
I missed that matchup, and looking at the score, I'm sad I did, because that sounds like a really, really good fight.
It was. It's funny, though. A laser, I think it definitely was a meta moment. I don't think he's a very good player, obviously. I'm not trying to diminish it at all, but there was a chunk of time there at that opening weekend of BlizzCon where his ZVP was actually stupidly good. It actually looked bad for the Protoss players. But
yeah,
since then, he's cooled off a little bit. And like I said, I think part of that was the adjustment to... everyone was doing Ravager, Ling, Baneling, and there was an adjustment period for Protoss players where they weren't doing quite the right stuff, and Zergs were making it look stupid. What I like about him, though, and we've seen this in this tournament too, more players catching on to this, he'll do Baneling harass, he'll do Ling harass. He's not a one-dimensional, just A-move Zerg. He's all over the place doing all kinds of different things. And he'll change up his tech, too. He's a very good player that way.
That he will. He may be young, and he's not massively experienced, but he has surprise on his side, and I think that unfamiliarity is a great weapon for players like this. Up-and-comers, they're generally not very well analyzed. Even though he placed very well at BlizzCon, I imagine that Koreans have been keeping an eye on people like Nurture more, because he's more well-known. He was scouted, he was analyzed. Where, we kind of saw what happened with Neeb, right? Where Neeb snuck up and won that event. And then, since then, the Koreans are like, all right, tear it apart. Find out all of his weaknesses, every single chink in his armor, and let's exploit it all. Because now you're famous. Now you got a target on the back of your head.
You're dead on. That's actually been part of what's been so incredible about the Korean dominance is that for a lot of these tournaments over the years, they've known very little about their opponents. I mean, there's been some that shined, obviously Snoot, Stefano, Idra in his prime. Like, there definitely have been guys that have been acknowledged, but for the most part, even the top foreigners, they're like, yeah, I've heard of you, but I haven't watched any of your games. I don't really know you. But when you take top 4 at BlizzCon, when you beat some of these players, like he had a hand in eliminating Solar, by the way, who we just saw what he can do. You get their attention. They start to figure things out. And I think a really good example that you just said was Neeb. His PvP was actually trend setting. It was ahead of the curve, and Koreans kind of adjusted. And since then, he's had a little bit of trouble with your patience and some of these other Protoss players.
DT warp in right here. The 4DT push seem to be pretty damn popular right now. And when you don't have that much detection, you can hardly blame him, and great evacuation here. Good choice by Laser to go Queen Heavy, though. Anticipating that a Warp Prism would be coming in, considering his scout was absolutely excellent. I mean, he saw everything. He got a very early Speed Overlord, which is a really smart investment. He saw everything except for that third base down there. But, you know, that only just recently went up, and he's about to see it anyway.
Just great intel by him. A lot of players will open up Speed Overlord, but not necessarily really utilize it. Look in the main. There's another Overlord. Look at the natural. Another one. I mean, Laser is essentially hacking right now. He knows everything. He sees everything.
And I love the way that... Yeah, and he kind of baits this in a little bit. Gets it on creep, so those Zealots are absolutely going to go down. The Archons will probably escape. And we might see a Queen go down. But that was pretty damn well defended, all things considered.
Yes. I mean, two of the 3 Queens there are fairly low in health. But as long as they just utilize that range and not necessarily get too close for comfort, they should be okay.
Laser's feeling comfortable right now. He's putting in 13 drones. And with those Archons still active, do you think that's a little impetuous? I mean, I guess he's adding another Queen and 4 Roaches and Speed as well, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. It's okay, but it has a varying degree. Like, it's okay for now, but we just saw Zest a few moments ago target the Roaches actually and kill like 3 or 4 with that AoE damage. It becomes less okay if that continues to happen. But as we can see, the drone production was the right call. The amount of Roaches that are out right now can give chase. And I like that he's taking this 4th base as the 3rd base is being saturated for a Protoss. I mean, I like it, but I like it in the light of this harass. It's actually really good for Zest. All
right, well, from both sides, if only Roaches could shoot up, then that might have worked. But at least it drives them away for the time being. The problem is, of course, that 4th is now vulnerable to being Archon to death, although one has to wonder if a Laser was thinking, oh, please, by all means, give that a shot, and let me see if I can trap you. Instead, the Archons are going to drop back into the 3rd mineral line, an immediate pull here from a Laser to minimize the damage, trying to get those Queens in, but just not quite getting there enough. At least he's stripped the shields off the Warp Prism now, though.
Yeah, it's gotten it low enough that any kind of dive is going to have its inherent risk, and it's going to make Zest think twice about doing it. I'm just kind of looking at this, though, and I'm like, man, there's the Ravagers, there's the Lings. We're going to have Centrifugal Hooks for the Banelings, so we're kind of returning to that composition that, at least for me, it made a Laser leap out as a good ZVP player. And I'm also a little bit like, guys, yeah, Hydra's lost the range, but is everyone just abandoned? Like, it's Solar using to kill carriers, but otherwise...
Yeah, I mean, we only really saw them in that ZVZ, didn't we? And they ended up mostly turning into lurkers, but... All right, well, I mean, Laser's going to stick with what he thinks works, and the thing is, we're seeing the Protoss start to adapt, adding Blinkstalker into the mix, and Immortals, of course, both fairly useful against what a Laser's got, but you've got to admit, a Laser has had a powerhouse of an economy, has built a big, stonking army, and this Archon harass has looked, I think, more annoying and more dangerous than it really was. Yeah, he's taken a few Queens here and there, but what did it really accomplish?
What it really accomplished is the positioning. Now going up to a 4th base, and so far the Zerg has had nothing to do with it.
Very good point.
That's the real cost of that harass. You're absolutely right. A couple of Queens, a couple of Roaches, some Lings, not a big deal. But if he can establish this 4th base, get a few more pylons so that he can put an overcharge over there, then all of a sudden the Zerg's like, wait a second, I'm on equal base with Protoss? Well, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Baneling's in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's thankfully able to get out of there. We actually saw the centrifugal hook upgrade kick in, because as it turns out, I believe as a result of centrifugal hooks, an Archon can't one-shot a Baneling anymore. By the looks of it, I think it survives on a couple of health.
I'm going to leave you out on that boat. I have no idea, and every time I
don't have a clue. I'm just guessing. But I saw some very, very low health Banelings, and they got away. That's all I'm saying. Someone else can do the mathematics on that one. I am no expert. Oh god, that's a lot of DTs just warped in there. The question is, are they really going to be DTs? No, they're not. They're going to be Archons aplenty here for Zest. Good idea. Ultimately, he's playing a defensive game against a laser who's kind of hung around maybe a little bit too long and is now facing off some deadly tech. He's
just still harassing, but he also has this observer, and he just sees it's just pure Ling, Roach, or not even Roach, excuse me, it's just Ling, Ravager, Baneling. And we've seen this. We saw players get pigeonholed into the situation where they then face a Protoss that shows up with like 16 Archons. And I don't care how many Lings you have, unless those Archons are completely bunched together, you're in a lot of trouble.
And the laser's entire army isn't even there for the push. Yeah, okay, cool. He has a bit of a supply advantage, but I'm sorry, you're going to attack into that? That's a terrible position to attack with Archons, double pylon, photon cannon behind it, second photon cannon. No, you can't. You just cannot. Not with that army. You're going to have to figure out another way. I'd love to see maybe some Ling and Baneling drops. That would be pretty good.
Yeah, and he's going Hive, and I was wondering, what is the tech going to be here? But he just now throws down the Spire. So that is a miscue. You do want the Spire completed by the time that Hive finishes so you can start up Broodlords.
A laser, my god. He's going up to 50-plus Banelings, trying to take advantage of that big upgrade in HP. That will make them better against the Archons. Oh, it looks like the problem is now, with the +2 upgrade, they do one-shot Banelings again.
Yeah.
And there's no Carapace upgrade either. So this isn't going to be anywhere near as good as it should be. This is a very, very costly attack. Is it going to break through very well spread out Protoss and a lot of Banelings sort of detonating for not a lot of gain?
No, it's just, I mean, with that spread...
It's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, things are going to die. With Banelings and Ravagers, that's just always going to happen. The nice thing here for a laser is most of what was actually lost was Lings. So those are tradable. He doesn't have a giant bank, but if he's able to trade those for gas units, he can start to edge out there.
He's got 5 bases up too behind all of this. So, he's saying, all right, well, Zest, if you're going to play defensively and passively, I can do that too. In come the Banelings, crashing into not an awful lot of anything. And, there are the Archons to eliminate the rest of them. Elazer did just bleed off a lot of units for not much. Yeah. Obviously, his economy's in a decent place. Not good enough to justify wasting all of that. He's able to get away. Tempest are being added into the mix here now by Zest.
Before the Greater Spire finishes. It just started.
Nice.
Really bad for Zerg.
Yeah,
but
bad news.
Did Zest overcommit? This is actually a little bit of a dice situation. The Crack upgrade, the Adrenaline upgrade did just finish. He's got a huge spread again, so he's positioning himself really well here. Yeah,
let's see what he can do with it. A bunch of Banelings again. They'll hit hard, but they'll also die quick. Can it be done? Obviously, 5th base is gonna die there. That was just gonna happen. Oh, he manages to save that Bane. Nice little move. It's a lot of Immortals. It's just a lot of really high-tech, dangerous stuff on the Protoss. And a laser doesn't seem comfortable engaging here. It's probably right. I mean, look at that spread from the Protoss there.
Yeah, he is right. And as time goes on, he's going to get some more Lings out here. But look at the cost. I mean, you were bringing up earlier what happened. Well, I'm going to hold that thought, actually. Some Zerglings going to pour out here. Is that going to trigger the fight? Looks like no, but he's losing the reinforcements in the middle map.
Yeah, the Zealots just devastated those Zerglings. Unfortunately, the Lings don't have any armor upgrades at all, and that's really starting to show now.
Yeah, DT's just now going to show up to a base with no detection. But here comes the fight. No answer for the Tempest.
Nope, not really. I mean, I guess you can maybe throw down a lot of corrosive biles, but yeah, now the Ravagers are trapped. In come the Banelings, canceling the warp in. He's able to crash into the ground forces and eliminate them for the most part, but here is the second warp in behind all of that. And there's not enough Zerg to kill that. GG.
Well done by Zest, and you can just see him feeling out his opponent. He was just always on top in information.
Really
He's like, okay, I'll take this 4th base. I'll mass up Archons. You can't attack into me. I know this. But then also even like little things like, oh, the top left inside, no detection with your army. All of a sudden, Dark Templar become aggressive units and win the day.
Well, all right. And finally, by the way, we see a position where a Zerg is not in control. And we've had so much Zerg today. Mostly because of Solar. People have had the idea, well, every match had a Zerg in it. I mean, yeah, because most of the matches had Solar in it. Not much we can do about that, really. But now we're finally in a position where I can give you a Zest, not a Zerg. I can give you a Zest versus something that's not a Zerg. I can do that. We have some interesting players to bring onto the field.
Okay.
I'll give you a PVT. People want a PVT? They can get one.
PVT?
A PVT? You want a PVT,
I
mate?
want a PVT, mate.
Yeah, I don't think you know what you're asking for, mate.
Certainly not.
I don't think so. Do you think he knows what he's asking for?
Probably
No,
not.
probably not. I think he's a bit of a div.
You're gonna outclass me. Here.
You're gonna get out-chaved here if you're not careful. Watch it.
For damn sure.
We do have
I
someone...
know Tosser. I know.
You know Tosser. Good. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to put a little bit of a twang on it as well. How do you do it? Give me your best,
Tosser.
most insulting. That was your best, most insulting Tosser.
Oh no, I would say twat is. So I'd be like,
he's a bit of a twat, that one. A tosser.
Tosser. That wasn't too bad on the Tosser. Twat is pronounced twat, not twat, but
Twat.
Twat. Yes, twat. You gotta put a lot of venom on the T at the end there. Twat. Like you're stabbing them with a fork.
Oh, okay.
That's how it is. There's a lot of skill and practice required. But if you want to go for a really insulting Tosser, you've got to have the bit of the chaved London drawl on it, like this. You Tosser. Something like that. Like, you've just got to convey the utter disgust towards the end of it. That's what makes what sounds like a fairly lame insult into the worst thing you've ever heard in your life.
Even just saying it pains the person, I guess. I like it.
Yeah.
Come for the StarCraft, stay for the learning on how to insult people with the British accent.
Indeed. It's like trying to conjure warp entities, The tongue cracks, the lips burn, the teeth fall out and blacken. Basically that, for all intents and purposes.
You can see it.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised that we got 3-4 hours into this tournament and only now we're getting a 40k reference. I think we're obviously letting people down here, really.
We'll pick it up. We did make our penis joke like 10 minutes into it, though. So as far as I'm concerned, we're okay. We've covered our bases.
Yes. I don't want to hear any more about that las cannon. Jokes could be made.
Mine's a bit more of a melta, myself.
Jokes could also be made. I choose not to. Choose decency over dishonor.
Well done.
I know, it's a rare thing for me.
Let's introduce the player, for God's sake.
I mean, I'd love to. He's not... There he is. He's finally... I didn't want to introduce someone who then we would not have... Yeah, because that would have been a bit weird. Now we know he's actually joining the lobby, so I will introduce the player. All right, folks. There's been a market for StarCraft 2 in China for a long time, and I feel that we have done a pretty crappy job of catering to both their players and their audience. So let me put my flag in the ground right here and say this is where it changes. This is their time. Yes, it's time, the Terran player. One of the up-and-comers from China. We're going to be bringing in an awful lot more Chinese players. We're now officially partnered with Neo TV. And as a result, we are bringing the broadcast to China, to the Chinese fans out there, and we're bringing in some of their Chinese players. Because, oh God, is China on the rise right now. They have got several top-class players that are beating Koreans and foreigners on a regular basis. Not to mention that huge tournament they've got over there right now.
And that's a fun time. China's always had a peerless market of people, and if we can get them involved and if they can get excited about StarCraft 2, even at this late stage of the game, more the better. And let me remind people, and I know this will be, for a lot of people, a bingo board spot here as well. I'm going to mention Brood War, but back in the day, some of the best players in our scene were Chinese players. PJ, God, what's his name? L1, F91. A lot of these guys that have kind of weird number and letter names, but they were very, very good.
Oh, yeah. If you want to find a country that has even stranger handles than Korea does, then China's the place to go for that.
It is. I'll give power to this guy, though. Time's a cool name, especially in all caps, very prominent. But there's a lot of guys who's like, what's your name? Oh, I go under the handle of LF19. It's like, oh, cool, man. That's
sure. Yeah, why not?
That's your numbers.
Fair enough. Well, it's a test for this up-and-comer. He's a very young player. He's been showing a lot of promise. Recommended to me by the Chinese casters as somebody that really wanted to try and show something. And, of course, isn't stuck in WCA right now, so that helps. But I'm really intrigued to see what his playstyle is. Facing off against one of the best in the world. The current King of the Hill in the northwest position in the baby blue. Playing Protoss with 2 wins under his belt. He is Zest. Versus his opponent to the northeast position in the red trunks. Playing Terran. Representing China. Perhaps it is his time. Or will his time have run out?
What?
We shouldn't burn those puns yet. They'll be much more useful later.
Yeah. Let's just constantly use time over and over again and wait until someone just ends it.
You can use time?
Well, I mean, just as the as the analogy, we're just like,
oh, okay. I thought you were talking about actual time manipulation. I was like, wow. Jesus.
I would not be commentating StarCraft if I could manipulate time. I would be...
Possibly.
Well, I don't even know what I would be doing. But I'm interested to see this because time, we've seen great in StarCraft 2. Well, great. We've seen good StarCraft 2 Protoss players. We've seen some good StarCraft 2 Zerg players coming out of China. But we haven't really seen, like a toe-to-toe Terran player. Now, if you can go here and beat Zest off of a couple of game win streak here, that would be impressive. That would be the beginning of, I think, a lot of people's interest being piqued. And yeah. I know he's been doing well in online cups, and I know he's a grandmaster on the Korean ladder. So it's not like he hasn't done anything. But to enter into this tournament and play for money against a Korean, that is a different caliber of competition than just beating someone on a ladder.
Yeah. But as you mentioned, it's also a grand opportunity. Because really, you got nothing to lose in a matchup like this. If you lose to Zest, no one's going to be surprised and nobody's going to think any less of you. If you beat Zest, hell, even if you put up a good fight, then frankly, that's gonna raise your stock significantly in StarCraft 2.
You are exactly right. And it's kind of an interesting pressure on a player like Zest where, not that I think this would even affect him in the least because he's so experienced, but it is up to, I mean, if he loses here, they're like, you just lost to a Chinese player that's
what the hell is going on with this pylon? There's a pylon in the main base of time right now, and
Militia Core.
Yeah, Zest is actually going to finish it, and he's going to use it. And there's the photon overcharge. Oh dear. Well, maybe that is the experience in play here. Catching a rookie player off guard with a really cheeky move.
It's common belief right now that if you open up Reaper, this is actually one of the things that can happen to you.
Really?
And a lot of players, that Marine dying just before the bunker finishes, by the way.
That's
rough. My God.
That's unlucky. And he's using, again, the second pylon to try and save the Mothership Core, but that pylon is going to get taken down very, very quickly. I think the Mothership Core may very well die as well. But the pylon was now focusing on the workers, doing yet more damage.
Yeah.
The Mothership Core is now out of range. Cyclone is up. Bunker salvaged. That Adept potentially could have died, but he decided instead he wanted to take down this pylon. Doesn't want it to get overcharged again. It's down. All right. So I guess we assess what the hell happened there.
Well, like I said, that's just if you open a Reaper, you don't have if you do any kind of tech behind that, you're not going to have the DPS to drop a pylon or two unless you pull your SCVs and really commit to it. But even with that Adept, I mean, you'll notice it just shaded immediately to the Terran base. It wasn't overly concerned with the Reaper itself. And the harass is still going on, by the way. Keep in mind those Adepts only have 2 vision, so when they shade up, they actually don't see much, which kind of makes it hard to decide whether or not you're going to commit to something.
Yeah, it's a very weird situation here because there's a lot of Cyclones like that. I don't think those Adepts could commit to that at all. The Cyclones would murder them. They are Cyclones are armored units. Yes, I was going to say. Of course they are. the Mothership Core keeps going in, and you think, well, with Cyclones down, that's suicide. It's really not, because Cyclones anti-air damage has been hit with a brick. It just doesn't do as much anymore. You can get out of there, and Zest has already proven that he knows just how survival is. Great little clutch move there by Time to block the Adept Shades from getting in. And now we have a very interesting army comp. 4 Cyclones, a Liberator, and 5 Marines against 3 Adepts, 3 Stalkers.
Barrick's coming up behind this, even a reactor, so it looks like he will circle around to bio, but without any tech lab here, it's going to be forever before that bio becomes pretty useful. This timing attacks now. The Cyclones against this army, they're going to have a tough time going up the ramp, but actually, you know what? I just say they flat out won't. The Mothership Core had to recall back, so it has no energy.
And look at the amount of damage those things can do to the pylons, taking them down very, very quickly. Great micro so far by Time, keeping them all. I wish he brought a couple of SCVs along with him to repair those Cyclones, but so far, look at how he's rotating out his Cyclones. Finally, one goes down. The Stalker's taking damage. Liberator trying to reposition, but now there is an Immortal out. And Time is going to have to pull back.
Yeah, and he gets out just in time. Like, if he... Oh, God. Oh, God. If he would have lost those Cyclones, this would be snowball to death. And I'm still actually worried, because, again, the tech lab is just about to finish. Liberator's going to go up into the main, but there are Stalkers here. And now a Photon Overcharge as well. So he's just going to kind of dangle that over his head, but he could actually almost die here.
Well, the Cyclones are getting repaired now. And the Stalkers do take decent damage from that. And there is now a tank. Can the tank get into position in time to make this work? Now it's deployed. I don't think Zest can break that ramp right now with what he's got. Not with the tank.
Not with the tank, no.
He does have
Blink. Where do we go? I mean, he's going to make some Marines. He's upgrading Stim just now. He's going to make tanks. So is this...
Oh! Zest is going to warp into the base and bypass the defensive line entirely.
Yeah. It's going to make its way up in here. And more gateways finishing, by the way. Zest has a lot of production off just these 2 bases.
Zest's got a probe up there, too. Like, we could see pylons go down. We could see all sorts of nonsense. And Time doesn't know about it. And unfortunately, that siege tank gets caught out of position. Doesn't even get a shot off. And that is a real problem, because the Blink Stalkers come right in on top of Time. And Zest showing his veteran instinct. Deny Stim Pack. Oh, God. And Time putting on a brave showing there, but this is Zest we're talking about. He's a Royal Roader, multi-time world champion. You need to do a little better than that.
Liberator shows up, tries to help out, not going to be able to do it. The Stalkers now joining up together. GG. Time looking for a later date to make his debut as a potential threat to Zest, because right now, Zest just ran a clinic. Every decision he made, every strategy he did, like, maximize its damage and just put the game further away.
Yeah, I got to give him credit for that. I think that he made a really interesting little attack that I haven't seen before. It could have worked potentially, but he took a really big hit early on from a nasty little strategy that worked very well against that very specific thing that was being done by him. As you said, like, that's actually a way to counter that Reaper, and Zest recognized that, dealt with it, and had that not happened, would have been a much longer game. I would have been interested to see what big Liberator Cyclone Force could do. I thought that, for a while anyway, he was punching pretty well with that. But once the Immortal came out, that wasn't going to happen. If he just brought maybe a few SCVs along, the Cyclones could have stood up a little longer. But no, it didn't do it. But a brave attempt nonetheless. Looking forward to seeing more of him in the future.
Yeah, it was a fun playstyle. He did, like you said, he tried for some kind of fun compositions. But just as you said at the beginning, Zest was able to just take a pretty massive lead, and then everything he did from that point forward was a great call.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like that combination, drop into the main base and then immediate blink on top of the tank, was just like, it was blinding. It was just dazzling to Time. Time didn't even have a response to that.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Zest! He's begun something here. He has a 3-map streak going on.
Not bad.
For his first time in this tournament, not too shabby at all. Not that anyone would really doubt his ability, but this is not the kind of thing he usually plays in. He's used to taking a lot of money out of standard format tournaments. Turns out he can punch with the best of them in unexpected scenarios as well.
Yeah, and that's, we were kind of talking a little bit about this. I think actually even mostly privately, you might have mentioned on your show, but it's the silver lining to SSL and Kespa and a little bit less of the Korean tournament organizing presence is that you are able to get a lot of these guys that maybe in the past wouldn't have been available and say, hey, I would like to put money in your pocket and show you in front of nigh on 20,000 people who want to see you compete. And
more people than watched you in Pro League, more people than watched you in GSL. And now these guys are finally out of contract and these teams have shut down. I have no issue saying that, let me put it this way. The reason that we had so many problems getting the players that you wanted in the earlier events, and I'm not just talking about Kings, I'm talking about our invitationals, even our $20,000 invitationals, was Kespa. It was Kespa management. It had nothing to do with the players. All the players wanted to play. Every last one of them. They were prevented by Kespa management from doing so. Dealing with Kespa, for the most part, I'm sorry to say this, has been nothing short of a bloody nightmare. For independent tournament creators in the West, Kespa has been an almost impenetrable wall between us and the ability to get money and support to these guys. It's not like the Koreans want to sit in their team house all day just playing in Korean tournaments. No, they absolutely wanted to play in these events. They really value their foreign fans. They really value being able to put on a great show for you guys.
Well,
and they were prevented from doing it.
It gets them more exposure. It gets them, like direct money, just winning anyways. But that exposure is a big deal. It creates the narrative around them, and all of a sudden, you are a bigger fan of them. You are checking out their stream if they stream, or you're at least cheering them on in the big tournaments. It's when they're not allowed to participate and compete in the game they are a professional in, it diminishes their overall value. It hurts them. It's crazy.
It is. It's dumb because that, in some small part, contributed to the situation we're in right now. And some of us, I wouldn't say we're trying to pick up the pieces, but we really believe in these guys. These are hard-working, dedicated, committed, passionate players that deserve support.
Yep.
And it's so unbelievably stupid that for so long we've been prevented from providing that, and now a lot of these guys are just dropped right in it. No team houses, nowhere to live anymore, no teams, no sponsorship, no flight support, region-locked tournaments. No, I'm not having it. I'm not bloody having it. And now Kespa's out of the way. If there is one silver lining, it's that I know there are plenty of passionate people on this side of the pond that do give a shit about these guys and are willing to help. This will be one of those tournaments, man. Everyone loves to see foreign versus Korean. Everyone loves to see the best Koreans fight each other in a really cool format. These guys put on great shows. These guys don't show up and slack.
No.
I mean, look at the quality of games
really nice
in the last 6 months. Look at the sheer quality. None of these guys are showing up and not taking this seriously.
Yep.
So, a lot of appreciation for these guys. And let's just say a lot of bitterness towards the people that held them back and made our lives more difficult. So, roll on 2017. All right.
Right on.
You want a good match? Oh, you're a goddamn good match. You want another PVT? Of course you want another PVT.
Second one.
Yeah, you know what? Be like, too many Zerg. All right, you shower of bastards. Be careful what you wish for. Here's one. This should be a clash of the Titans. It certainly has been every time they've met. Two of the best players of all time